We live in this world that's just boring, and AI is making it more boring. And we all have the opportunity to disrupt, just to be a little bit nuts. We think, oh my gosh, AI is nipping at the heels of our skill sets and jobs, and the bots are coming. Competent doesn't cut it. Boring doesn't cut it. That is ignorable. That is vulnerable because AI can do that. We've got to do something that only humans can do. And one of the things I talk about is the difference between sharing and oversharing.
You're listening to the Real Business Connections Network. Real Business Connections Network. Powered by Albert Marketing, LLC. Subscribe now and check us out at realbusinessconnections.com. Enjoy the show.
So, liquid death. When I first saw a can, it was at a Labor Day party. I see a guy with a can. It says liquid death. It's black. It looks like a cheap beer can. He's drinking it. And I had just realized that I had been dehydrated, so I was trying to drink as much water as possible. And I saw this beer can called Liquid Death, and the guy told me it was water, and it was like $3. And I thought it was the stupidest thing I had ever seen in my life.
Good. That's probably what they want you to think.
What's going on there?
Well, so this was one of my absolute favorite case studies in my new book. And I want to start by saying this is just a U.S. brand. So for listeners in other parts of the world, you may say, what the heck are they talking about? And the guy that started Liquid Death, he did it not because he's obsessed with water. He's obsessed with branding. And he looked at the water market, and it's just totally boring. It's just everything. Everybody does everything the same way. Everything is, pure and clear, and it's in a plastic bottle, and they have names like Rainbow Springs. And he thought, why can't we shake this up? And let's flip the script. Well, obviously, the first way flipped the script was by calling his product Liquid Death. And I don't remember much about my very first marketing class, but I do remember one lesson was never associate your product with death. So immediately he's just shaking things up. If you're not familiar with the product, I encourage you to go to YouTube and look up some of their advertisements because they're nuts. And some of them are so cringeworthy, they're hard to watch. I was going to use one of their ads in a speech that I gave, and the organizer said, "Oh no, you can't show that." So, I mean, it's kind of like that, right? Now, but here's the challenge, and here's the interesting reality behind this story. If you think about other markets, B2C or B2B, think about the automotive market. Who's interesting in the automotive market? Like, who's just like nutso crazy? What about even something that should be nutso and crazy, like pizza? Pizza is fun. It's enjoyed by kids and teens who are just hungry for something new and exciting. And, in America, we've got these commercials, nobody out pizzas the hut. What does that even mean? That's probably the most creative thing. We have an entire pizza industry. So the idea is, we live in this world that's just boring, and AI is making it more boring. And we all have the opportunity to disrupt, just to be a little bit nuts. We think, oh my gosh, AI is nipping at the heels of our skill sets and our jobs, and the bots are coming. We're not, we can't sugarcoat this. We read about it in the news every day, but we still own crazy. And that's what I'm encouraging people to do is like, competent doesn't cut it. Boring doesn't cut it. That is ignorable. That is vulnerable because AI can do that. We've got to do something that only humans can do.
We have to be audacious.
We have to be audacious. It would make a great title for a book.
Well, what's how humans win in an AI marketing world? Is that where we're at right now? It's an AI marketing world. We're officially there.
I think we are. I think that's where the money's going. That's where the time is going. In some cases, that's where the innovation is coming from. As we're recording this show, there have been announcements about breathtaking new breakthroughs with creative capabilities, with video, integrating AI into places like Canva in new ways. So yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely in an AI dominant world.
I'll give you a really cute example. And if someone listens to the whole episode, they'll hear it at the end in the post roll. I'm going to take the transcript from this conversation, Mark, and I've already programmed a GPT to write rap music like Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
And I take the transcript, I write the lyrics, then I use Sono AI and turn it into a song. So at the end of this podcast, you'll hear Mark rapping everything about Audacious. So stay tuned for that. But it's amazing when you're a little creative, some of the things you can do.
You got to send that to me so I can.
You want to approve it first?
I'll just send it to my kids and scare the heck out of them.
I'm going to make sure scare Mark's kids with the AI.
With the AI rap song, yeah.
So how do we stand out? Because you said it. I mean, I'm wearing a black T-shirt right now. I'm not looking that interesting myself. How do we stand out? Are we boring most of the time?
Yeah, it's funny that I listened to a podcast the other day. It's a marketing podcast called Another Black T-Shirt.
I like subscribe.
Well, the book starts off with this little story that was really the genesis of the idea, where I was at South by Southwest having dinner with friends, and people started quietly standing up and leaving the restaurant. And my back was to the door, so I turned around, and people were standing out on the sidewalk. So my friends, we looked at each other, and we got up and left our hot food to go stand out on the sidewalk. And there was a drone show with this animation of a new television show. And we see drone shows now, like at sporting events, maybe, or music festivals, but this was the first time we'd ever seen anything like this. And the show ended with the drones forming a QR code in the sky. And people were clicking on the QR code to go to see the trailer for this show. And I became obsessed with this scene. And I couldn't get it out of my mind. I've spent more than 10 years researching and writing about how can we become the signal above the noise. And I thought, if somebody hired me and said, Mark, we want you to create a story or an ad that's so compelling, people would leave their hot food to see it. Not just see it, but record it and share it all over social media. Could you do it? And the answer is no. It's like, so it was this magical thing. And I began to wonder, who did this? And how did they do it? And is there a pattern? Is there a system? Could I learn something from them? And then is there something every business could do to stand out in this way? So I found out who did it. It was an agency called Giant Spoon. Happened to know those guys. Called up the president of the company. I said, I want to sit in your meetings. I want to learn your secrets. I want to learn all your processes. And then I want to put it in a book.
I thought you were going to say, and I want to put it on Ben's podcast.
Yeah. And then eventually Ben's podcast. And first he said, who's Ben? And then he said, and then he said, yeah, we'd love to be in your book. And that led me on this winding 2-year path to talk to the greatest creative minds in the world. I mean, just one door opened after another to find out how do you do it? And they did share all their secrets. and there are patterns, and the kind of the major pattern is this: every sort of disruptive marketing or story that we see, it does one of three things, and sometimes all of them. Number one, it disrupts the narrative. So we expect a story a certain way. It disrupts the story. Number two, it disrupts where the story is told, or it disrupts who tells the story. And if you really work hard to rise above the blah and really not just tweak something, but really disrupt something in one of those categories, you're probably going to get noticed. And, that means a lot in business today.
Let's talk about that. So you mentioned South by Southwest, drone show, black t-shirt Ben currently doesn't have the budget at the moment for that kind of big conference, big drone show.
Sure.
Huge team, creative agency working on it. And I know you even talk about this in the book, but what are your thoughts for us solopreneurs or small agencies or people that don't have a large budget? We want to be different. We are different. We don't have a big budget for big, audacious things, or at least we feel like we don't.
Well, I mean, that's a question that's very present for me. First of all, I'm a small business. And even though I came from the corporate world, I worked in a B2B world that never had a big budget, that, we were always under the gun. And so the book really is written for those of you out there who are suffering the same way. And look, I have a few bombastic examples to kind of get your blood going. But most of the book really is examples and ideas aimed at small companies, small organizations that have little or no budget. In fact, I really make the point that this world is made for small to medium-sized businesses. You are positioned to win better than anybody. When I work, look, I consult to a lot of big companies, and they have this infrastructure of fear that's keeping them from really being bold and creative. We talked about how boring these industries are because fear and boring has just been normalized. It's normalized as a way of working. It's normalized in the culture. It's normalized in our relationship with agencies. And you think about small businesses that don't have to deal with any of that stuff. They don't have to worry about getting approved by the legal department. They don't have all these big contracts with advertising agencies, and they're free to be a little crazy. And so this book really is, I think, mostly written for you.
It got me sparked, and it actually reading the book made me start noticing audacious marketing around me. So I recommend everyone read the book, but simple example, and then I do want to pass it over to you, and I don't want to give away his whole keynote, but my friend Brian Bogert did a keynote where he talked about AI awareness and intentionality, and how he opened the keynote was with a drone that it's an AI drone that basically tracks you.
Yeah.
So as he walked on stage, you know what most people do when they walk on stage? They walk on stage, give a hug or a handshake, and then they start their keynote. He walked on stage with everyone's looking behind them. There's a drone and he's filming it for social media. He gets everyone's attention. Then you kind of put your palm out and the drone comes back and put it in your pocket.
Wow.
And I was like, that was audacious. And he bought that drone however many years ago.
Yeah.
Give us some more examples like that of just like, again, he didn't have to rewrite the keynote, but just starting with this created a great social media asset and got people's attention. More examples of that kind of thing.
Well, the thing I love about that is exactly what you said. he didn't like invent something new. He just twisted things in a new way. Drones aren't new. Keynote speeches aren't new, but he combined them and mashed it up in a new way that got new attention, got awareness, and probably got everybody, talking about it. I have to say an example that I'm really proud of is the cover of my book. So, when you call a book audacious, it better damn well be audacious.
I can see your book. I know what it looks like, but I can see it too.
Yeah.
Like it stands out on the wall behind you.
Well, it stands out, but the thing that's different about it. So first of all, let me back up and thought about and talk about. So here I have this product, a book that literally, it's a product that has not been disrupted for 200 years. They print books the same way they printed them for the last 200 years. And believe me, I love to mix things up. I love to, change the system in some way. I have tried for years to innovate with books and always, like I'm turned down. I tried to create a book that was an NFT, technology wasn't there, couldn't do it. So like your friend with the drone, I combined things that were already there. And in this book, the cover is a QR code. But what's different is I uploaded my book to AI. And I gave it some parameters, and the AI creates abstract art based on the stories in the book. And when you hover over the book cover with your phone, the book cover changes. It's like the infinity cover. It morphs. Now, so I think that's a great example because it seems impossible to disrupt a book cover unless you've got a huge budget. I did this with almost no budget. And it just kind of overcame what seems impossible by mixing things up in a new way. And I also want to point out that this is consistent with the framework of the book. So it talks about what is a story? What is your marketing narrative? It's the story. It's where you tell it. It's who tells it. So here, I'm telling a story in a whole new way. I'm telling it in a whole new place, the cover of the book, and I'm disrupting the storyteller. It's not even a person. So it's sort of, again, so it's kind of a cool example where I was able to, set an example, show how to do it, and, not have a huge budget.
And the book is littered with those QR codes. And I want you to talk on this. And I don't know if you talked about it in the book, but the strategy behind it, because when I look at social media and I post a link, oftentimes that post is suppressed because the social media platform doesn't want the users clicking on that link and leaving platform. You were mindfully asking people to leave your book the entire time because it was covered in QR codes.
Yeah. Well, the book is exciting. I mean, it's just mind blowing. And, something was different about this book, Ben, that this is my 11th book. If you count, new versions of old books, I think it's my 15th. But every time I write a book, I'm completely exhausted. But when I finished this book, I was energized and I was sad it was over because it was so much fun just sitting with these creative people and looking at what they're doing. And I needed to show the readers what they're doing, not just tell them, but show them, look, come along with me. There's even a couple QR codes in the book where the people I'm talking about have a special message for the people, for the readers. It's like a little Easter egg. You don't really know what it's there for. And so I just wanted to bring people along for the fun and have them experience the same sort of inspiration and energy that I felt when I was writing it.
I didn't scan every QR code. Is it going to your website, or is it going completely outside of anything Mark Schaefer?
I think I don't think there are any that go to my website.
Yeah.
It just goes to other people's work, just other great things to see.
And so I'm thinking out loud on this one. I just like the experience of that concept, because I feel like someone would sit down. You have to have QR codes. You take them to the website. On the website, you have a CTA. Then you can turn them in. This wasn't you trying to be about Mark. It was you creating an integrative experience.
Well, I actually thought about that, and that was my first instinct. Is that like, hey, put a QR code here and take them to the website, and they can see the content on the website. And I decided against that for really two reasons. One was just it added another click, and it added complexity. And I thought there was a better chance of not having broken links if I connected right to the direct material. And then if you like, I'll give you an example. Like Michael Krivicka was one of my favorite people to interview for the book, and he is the king of viral video. And I've been around this industry a long time. And he has the keenest instinct for storytelling of any human being I've ever met. And his videos are magical. So why just show one? So if you click on a QR code, you go to his site and you can see everything that he's done. So it was really a way to celebrate the people in the book and their great work.
I need to get him on the podcast. Does he do podcasts?
I don't know. Very few. There aren't that many interviews with Michael out there.
I remember Googling his name during the book and being like, he keeps a low profile, right?
He does. He keeps a pretty low profile.
Well,
in fact, he wasn't even going to meet with me. And I had lunch with him in New York, and he said, the only reason I met with you is because Giant Spoon, the agency that did the drone show, they told me that you're legit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Mark, I mentioned podcasts. You've been on podcast tours. You've hosted podcasts. I know right now. So you can embarrass me if you want. I know you're on like Black T-shirt business radio here. It's a very simple conversation based show. But of the podcasts you've been on and or maybe listened to, what makes a podcast audacious?
Well, I think there's a common thread in all of my work and all of the ideas in the book. And let's get back to Krivicka for a minute.
Please.
And one of his examples, he told me, he said, people, again, to set the stage here, Michael Krivicka has had more #1 videos on YouTube than any person alive. And he said, people try to copy me. And he said they can never do it. And here's why. He said, because they polish it and they make it perfect. He said, my videos, maybe here and there, they're a little out of focus. Or the audio isn't quite right. Or there's like dust on the lens. It makes you feel you're there. He doesn't use AI in any aspect of what he does and claims that he never will. And so there's this idea of really being just down in the dirt and raw. And the subtitle to a book I wrote a few years ago, the book was called Marketing Rebellion. It's my best-selling book, at least up until now. And the subtitle of that book is The Most Human Company Wins. Now think about like what Michael is doing. He's creating the most human videos. I mean, he's getting real, raw human reactions and emotions in his videos. I dropped the podcast episode on Monday, talking about suffering, talking about how do you go to work? How do you keep a business going when you're suffering? And my co-host on the show and I, we talked about times, the hardest times in our lives. There were times in the show, it was hard to speak because I was just flooded by these feelings again of these things that I had gone through. And yet this is real. I mean, this is what business is about. Business is, one of the stories I told was I was about to go on stage. And right before I was going to go on stage, I got a text message that my niece had been diagnosed with MS. And I just wanted to crawl in a hole.
Yeah.
And yet, here I was expected to give this performance, in an hour. And so life is that's life. And you have to transcend it. So just talking about things like that, just, being real, allowing yourself to be, like Michael says, not so polished, leave a little dust on the lens.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes content great.
So you're a prolific speaker, and let's talk about that moment. Do you go on and talk about anything that just happened? Do you share that you've had a rough day? Do you
no,
or do you just go in and what you said? Never.
Well, so when someone hires me to be a keynote speaker, that's a huge responsibility and a huge honor because they're putting their career on the line that you're going to get up on the stage and you're going to make them look good. So, I have an agreement with them that I'm going to cover great material. It's going to be educational. It's going to be memorable. It's going to be fun. And if they want me for 45 minutes, boom, I'm going to hit it at 45 minutes. So there's really no room for winging it. I would say in most cases. And so the strategy for me in that case is, okay, you've got to get through the next hour, just 1 hour. You can do anything in 1 hour. So look, steel yourself, put on your big boy pants, get ready to go because you got to get through this hour. And then after that, we'll see what happens in the hour after that. But right now, and most business activities are an hour. It's a Zoom call, it's a meeting, it's a speech, it's a pitch, and so at least for me, in that kind of a circumstance, that's what kind of gets me through tough times like that.
And Mark, you just gave me an unlock because I'm putting it all together that in that circumstance, I've got 45 minutes to an hour. I'm doing this. I'm going to wow everyone there. And maybe the next day or the next month on a podcast, you share your experience, or maybe you share within your community.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that you don't share it per se, but it's contextual, it sounds like.
Well, I normally do share it.
Sure.
If it's a teachable moment. I think you have to be careful not to cross a line of sharing versus oversharing.
Sure.
I share, and I think the point you bring up is a perfect example where, look, everyone at some time or another is going to face that exact situation where you have just had devastating news and you've got a customer meeting. You've got something you have to do. And so if I found a way that helped me get through it, well, why not share it? Because that could help other people.
Mm-hmm.
I teach a class in personal branding. And one of the things I talk about is the difference between sharing and oversharing. Sharing would be like, hey, I learned this important lesson and I would like to share it with you. or, oh my gosh, I am so happy today because I had this victory and I want to share it with you. Or, gosh, I made this mistake. Let's talk about it. And, maybe this will help you next time. I see a danger in oversharing. There was people that say, oh my gosh, I had such a hangover. I couldn't get out of bed today, or, oh, I got so drunk last night. I'm having a hard time getting started today. And, all things being equal, I would rather hire someone that I know can get out of bed. And again, if you're trying to inspire people to not be an alcoholic or something, well, then okay, share that kind of stuff. But if you're trying to build trust and you're trying to sort of show your values and what you stand for, I think oversharing can be a danger.
And this is a tough one. So are a lot of us oversharing online, do you find?
I think it's actually less than what it used to be. I think one of the most dangerous words in the marketing world is authenticity.
I literally had that word in my head. I'm like,
and
I
because
want to interrupt him, but
authenticity creates this expectation that, if I'm not transparent, I should feel guilty about it. And one of the things I teach in my class is an idea called strategic authenticity, where the most important thing is to be honest, but that doesn't mean you have to share every damn thing. I think to build a personal brand and to build trust, you can share glimpses of your life that let people know what you're like and what you value and what you stand for. And and I think you can do that without, being ugly and messy. So, my Instagram account, I don't talk about my business. It shows me pictures of me hiking or maybe doing something, with my wife or doing something in the community or going to a concert. To say, hey, he's just a guy. He's just a guy. And so I think that's an important way to build trust. Just show people kind of what you do with your life.
Is there a strategy behind that? Like, when you're posting a hiking photo,
Yeah.
I presume you're not sitting there, wow, everyone's going to see that I hike and I'm a journeyman and then they're going to want to hire me for marketing. It sounds like you're not. Tell me, are you posting it strategically? To me, this is where my brain's getting flubbed up. Having strategic and authentic in the same phrase, I almost feel like the strategy deletes the authenticity.
Well, so here's what I mean by that.
Sure.
So about, let's say, every 6 to 8 weeks, I post a picture of me doing something with my wife. And my wife really isn't on social media, but that is strategic to show I'm a happily married person. And, I'm doing something fun with my wife, and that's important to me. I don't really use Instagram. I use LinkedIn for business.
Sure.
But I don't really use Instagram for business. I kind of use Instagram just to kind of have fun and post pictures of, pretty pictures and pictures of where I am. And maybe I meet interesting people or something, but it's more about, look, I have a boat and I don't post a picture of my boat all the time because I think people it would send the wrong message. It's like, oh, geez, he's this elitist guy, spends all his time on his boat. But once every 6 to 8 weeks, it's like, okay, he likes being on the water. Look, that's his family on the boat. That's pretty cool.
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
What do you enjoy about being on the water?
Well, I live on the water. I live on a big lake. And it was sort of a lifetime goal of mine to end up with a house on the lake.
Beautiful.
And, for me, it's changed me. It's been an important part of my life because, we moved here 13 years ago, but when I lived in the suburbs, you get up, you read you get a cup of coffee and you start working. And now I get up, I get a cup of coffee and I sit and watch the sunrise.
Mm.
Sometimes I will just sit there and do nothing. If you just watch long enough and carefully enough, you always see something interesting. I saw a bald eagle catch a fish with its talons a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it sort of slows me down and calms me down. And I'm the kind of person that kind of needs that every day.
A little calm down.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you're going with your original point.
I don't know what the original point was.
I just imagined the water and I was like, I want to ask about that.
Yeah. We've gone off road.
we had started with tactical strategic authenticity. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. So in some cases it could be about your family, hiking. How do we determine what's best to start posting? Because let's talk about being boring. I find one of the reasons business content isn't doing well anymore is because there's so much out of it. And it's just the same thing said by a different person every single time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's some of that creative personal content that builds trust that leads them into wanting to do business with you. But how do I determine what to post? I mean, we kind of already said I shouldn't post like a bottle of tequila every morning, but do you have a strategy?
Probably every other morning for you.
Every other morning.
Okay.
Do you have strategy? Well, I mean, if I'm doing it every night and I post it weekly, it only looks like I'm hammered once a week, Mark.
Yeah, good for you. I'm glad to hear of your progress, young man.
How can we integrate this and actually make a change on our social media?
Yeah. So first, I mean, let's look at this at a very high level. It's really hard to stand out today. And you really only have one choice. Somehow you have to find a way to be original. And really the only choice you have is to have the courage to be you, because you have no competition. No one has your life experiences. No one has your, heritage and your background and your education. And it all comes together in this one human carbon-based unit that's you. And the thing that holds people back from expressing that, as I already said, is fear. People think they're going to be criticized. And it only comes through practice, really, and experimentation. And let me give you an example. So let me give you the bookend where I just talked about this podcast that I did, talking about suffering, talking about my own suffering. Now, I grew up in a very stoic family. You do not show your emotions. Big boys don't cry. That whole scene. When I got into social media, it's all about, especially in the early days, it's like, oh my gosh, here I am and I'm experiencing this. I'm thinking, I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
And then I saw a friend create a video of her Thanksgiving dinner. It's just a little video. And everybody waved at the camera and she posted it on social media. And I just thought, that is so warm, so welcoming, so human. It makes me like her. Why can't I do that? So I tried, so I experimented and did a little and maybe talked about, something I was struggling with or some disappointment I had. And every time I did, someone would say, that helped me so much. Or they'd say, how did you know? I was just talking about the same thing at work. And so like every time I opened up a little bit, I was rewarded. And so I just kept pushing a little bit more, pushing a little bit more. And it's still not easy. I'm still definitely a work in progress, but I've been doing it for so long now that I do feel brave. I do feel confident, because I've got ideas that I'm desperate to get out into the world, and I'm not afraid. I'm going to put them out there. I'm going to say what needs to be said. That's why I write a book. I don't have a strategy to write books. It's like I get this concept and I think this is it. This is right. This is the book that the world needs. This will help the world right now. This is the right book. And then I become completely obsessed and, I get it out there.
I don't know how you just did that, Mark. You answered the next question I was considering asking, and I want you to go a little deeper because I was going to ask you, where does the book come from? Do we already know what the next book's going to be? Where does that inspiration come from?
Well, I think one of the most important soft skills in business and marketing is curiosity. I'm a very curious person, and I love talking to people. I love listening to people most of all. And if you pay attention, you start to hear themes. And certainly, a big theme right now is, as a human being, where the heck do we fit in this world? And most people are talking about AI. Well, there's this tool, and this is how you do a prompt. But I think what people are really obsessed with and concerned with is like, where's this all going to end up? And so I just started thinking about it and studying it and thinking about how do I present this in a way that does not, I can't sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, oh, it's kumbaya. It's all going to be okay. Because it's not going to be okay. There's going to be huge, huge changes. But I wrote the book because there are places where humans will persist. There are parts of marketing, many of it overlooked, where humans dominate and thrive and always will. AI can't touch it. And so the book is sort of like a blueprint for here's the places that are uniquely human. And these are some ideas of how I see us fitting into the world. So the book, it solves a problem, and it takes a while for me to determine, yes, that is it. Because writing a book is such a sacrifice. It's so much work, and I take my books very, very seriously. There's no fluff in my books. Most business books today are a blog post and 240 pages of fluff. The best chapters in the book, I think, are the last 3 chapters. And it's like when I wrote the book, I thought, oh my gosh, these chapters are so good. I hope people get to the end. And most people are. So it's a big decision. It's the biggest risk you can take with your personal brand, putting a book out there. So, it's a hard decision. It takes a lot of introspection and then ultimately commitment.
How do we get the book? Can I scan the book to buy the book? How does that do? Does the QR code, what's it do? Does it do anything?
No, the QR code, that's what changes the cover of the front. If you have,
you explained that to me. Yes.
Yeah, you haven't. If you haven't tried, so you haven't tried the cover?
I have the e-copy. I did not try the cover. I just
okay.
What I do, this is a tangent, but I buy the electronic copy and the Audible simultaneously.
Okay,
so I get Mark reading it to me, but then I read along with Mark narrating to me. So that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing, and again, this kind of shows it's not easy disrupting things, is the QR code is on the cover of the book. So the cover always changes if you hover your phone over it. The cover on the paper book is the same as the hard book, it's the same as the Kindle book. But Audible, which is owned by Amazon, which publishes these other books, said it's illegal to put QR code on the cover of an Audible audiobook. So there's a different cover for the audiobook, which is maybe why it didn't connect for you. But yeah. So the main paper book, has the big QR code on the cover.
Audacious. And by the way, someone can rewind, or if they're taking notes, I think you did already explain that and just went over my head.
yeah, I did. Yeah, I use that as the example of disrupting on a budget.
So, and you can get that pretty much anywhere. Pretty easy to find.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
In the notes as well. One last question. You talked about how there isn't some kumbaya, but let's get utopian for 2 seconds. Imagine every marketer on earth is listening to this message.
Yeah.
And you want a better marketing landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not utopian, but darn near close to it.
Mm-hmm.
What are you telling them?
I think the first thing I would tell them is, what are you afraid of? If AI is just the marketing world is boring. AI is probably making it more boring. That's your opportunity. If you're competent, you're vulnerable because AI is competent. It's more than competent. But you're also ignorable. You haven't been doing a good job anyway. So it's time to break free. It's time to break the shackles of fear and disrupt. And I think it's liberating. I think most people want to do more. And the reaction to the book has been overwhelmingly just exciting and positive and energized, because they're saying, you're right. You're absolutely right. And this gives us some good ideas to move forward. So it's like, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of this world and I'm afraid that AI is going to take my job. Well, if you're boring and competent, you're probably right. But chances are everybody in your industry is boring and competent. So, I mean, I just think it's a huge opportunity. It's a time to be liberated from all that history. And I think the book is a rallying cry for those people who don't want to be ignored.
Powerful. Still not going to drink Liquid Death, though, Mark.
No, I don't either. It's too expensive.
You're welcome back anytime. We joked. I'm serious. I'd love if your kids could choose for us, but in a second we're gonna play AI Mark rapping to basically summarizing this episode. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Ben.
Talk soon, Mark.
We live in a world where AI is rising fast, but here's the truth. It can't disrupt, it can't dream. It doesn't own crazy, we do. If you're just competent, you're already falling behind. Safe is ignorable. It's time to be bold. It's time to be audacious. South by Southwest, I stood in the crowd. Drones lit the sky, silent but loud. They formed a code, people clicked amazed. And I thought, when's the last time you left folks dazed? See, I spent years cutting through the noise in a world full of bots. Humans bring the choice. You wanna win? Then break the mold. Competence is weak, but bold, that's gold. We still own crazy. We still own bold. AI can mimic, but we break the mold. Boring's invisible, safe gets tossed. Audacious minds win while the rest get lost. I've watched brands hide, afraid to stand, while AI writes lines they barely planned. But humans, we twist, we shout, we move. We're not here to fit, we're here to prove. No big budget, no legal chain, just guts, ideas breaking the plane. I flipped the book cover, made it dance, did it with heart, didn't leave it to chance. We still own crazy, we still own bold. AI can mimic, but we break the mold. Boring's invisible, safe gets tossed. Audacious minds win while the rest get lost. This isn't about tools, it's about soul. Telling stories that make people whole. Disrupt the norm, shake the ground. This spark that spins heads around. Fear's the killer, comfort's the trap. But bold gets heard, bold gets claps. You got a choice, blend or break. It's time to give more than you take. I've seen the best, I've lived the grind. But it's not tech, it's a human mind.